I like to introduce what is meant by a CPU scheduling. In the case of CPU scheduling, in the case of multiprocessing environment, we will be having many number of processes. So automatically we have to schedule. So the CPU is going for scheduling. Moreover, the operating system is going to schedule the task. Okay, we will be having problems in the case of CPU scheduling. We are going to see what are all the problems and what are all the algorithms that is being present in the case of your CPU scheduling. Okay, in this CPU scheduling, we are going to classify this CPU scheduling into two types. One is pre-emittive and another one is non-pre-emittive. Okay, in the case of pre-emittive means we are not going to execute your process in a single stretch. You are going to break the execution of a process and you are going to execute. That is known as pre-emission. In the case of non-pre-emission, we are not going to break the process execution. That is known as non-pre-emission. Okay, in the case of CPU scheduling, we will be having four algorithms. One is FCFS, that is first come first serve, and second one is SJF, that is shortest job first, and third one is priority scheduling, and fourth one is RR, that is round robin. Okay, in the case of pre-emittive, SJF, priority and round robin comes under this priority scheduling. And then in the case of non-pre-emittive scheduling, only FCFS comes under this non-pre-emittive scheduling. FCFS comes under only this non-pre-emittive scheduling. But in the case of pre-emittive scheduling, we will be having SJF, priority and round robin. Moreover, this SJF, priority and round robin will undergo non-pre-emittive scheduling also. Non-pre-emittive scheduling also. So, SJF, priority, round robin will undergo both pre-emittive and then non-pre-emittive scheduling. Okay, but in the case of FCFS, it undergoes only this non-pre-emittive scheduling, but it doesn't undergoes, FCFS doesn't undergoes this pre-emittive type of scheduling. Now we are going to solve the problem. First, in precise, I will be telling the concept of this FCFS. In the case of FCFS, the first come job, okay, the first come job will be executed first. Okay, that is known as FCFS. And SJF, the shortest job first is going to be executed first. Okay, that is known as SJF. And priority, the priority means the process which is having the highest priority is going to be executed first. Okay, that is known as priority scheduling. And round robin means it is going to execute only in this pre-emittive. Moreover, in the case of this SJF and then priority will undergo both this pre-emittive and non-pre-emittive, but in the case of RR, that is round robin, will undergo only pre-emittive type of scheduling. So non-pre-emittive comes under FCFS, only non-pre-emittive, and then pre-emittive and non-pre-emittive are SJF and then priority, and only pre-emittive is round robin. Okay, round robin is we are going to execute this round robin only in the case of your pre-emittive scheduling by means of time slot or quantum time. That is, we are going to fix the quantum time and then we are going to execute this. First, we are going to see about the FCFS type of scheduling. Okay, this is the problem. This is the example that is being given. Process AT means arrival time, BT means bus time. I like to tell about FCFS. FCFS means first come first serve. This is the problem that has been comes under this FCFS type of scheduling. Process, arrival time, bus time and priority is being given in this first problem. Process P1, P2, P3, P4 and then P5. This is the process. Arrival time for process P1 is 0 and then 2 for P2 and then 4 for P3 and then 5 for P4 and then 3 for P5, and the bus time is 7, 4, 1, 4, 4 and priority is given. Priority is 5, 2, 1, 4 and then 3. This is the problem that is being given. In this problem we will be having 5 process and arrival time of this process. Bus time means the execution time of the process, that is known as bus time, and priority is also being given. First we are going to draw the Gantt chart for this. Okay. As I already told, FCFS comes under only non-preemptive. FCFS comes under only non-preemptive. First we are going to draw the Gantt chart. Gantt chart tells about the execution flow of your process. Okay, first we are going to draw this Gantt chart. At the initial stage, 0 stage, there will be no process. So at the arrival time represents the arriving time of the process. So at the arrival time 0 in the CPU, process P1 enters. Okay, process P1 enters into the CPU and it executes for 7 milliseconds. Okay, because the bus time of the process P1 is 7. So the process P1 is going to execute for 7 milliseconds in the processor, that is the CPU. So 7. Next, at the arrival time 2, process P2 has been arrived, because it is a non-preemptive scheduling. So the execution time of the process P1 doesn't been broken up. So at the arrival time 2 also, the process P1 continues its execution, and the arrival time 3, the process P5 arrives. It did not be pre-emitted. The process P1 doesn't been pre-emitted in the CPU. It continues the execution of the arrival time of P5. Next, at arrival time 4, process P3 arrives. So it is a non-preemptive, so it doesn't break the execution of P1. So still the P1 is going to continue its execution, and at the arrival time 5, process P4 arrived. So it is a non-preemptive, so the process P1 continues its execution up to 7 milliseconds. So in this 7th millisecond, all the process arrives and it's all entry into the waiting state. Okay. So after completion of the process P1, the process P2 is going to be executed, because it is a first come first served. Which process has been arrived first, it is going to be executed first. Okay, next one is the P2. Next, P2 enters into the processor, that is the CPU, and it executes for another 4 milliseconds. Already your processor is in 7th millisecond. You are going to add 7 plus 4, that is 11. Next, the process P3 arrives. Next, the process P3 enters. Its execution time is 1. So we are going to add 11 plus 1, that is 12. Next, process P4 enters. The execution time of the process P4 is 4. So 12 plus 4 is 16. Next, process P5 arrives. So the execution time of the process 4. So P5 is 4. So 16 plus 4, that is 20. Is it clear? Okay. Next, we are going to calculate the CT, that is completion time of the process. Okay, we are going to calculate the completion time of the process. Completion time, that is CT of this process. What is the completion time of the process? For process P1, 7 is the completion time. For the process P1, 7 is the completion time. For the process P2, 11 is the completion time. For the process P3, 12 is the completion time. P4, 16, P5, 20. So I are going to write the completion time of the process. For process P1, 7, P2 it's 11, and then for P3 it is 12, and for P4 that is 16. P5 it is 20. This is the completion time for the process P1 to P5. Next you are going to calculate the average turnaround time. TAT means turnaround time. What is the formula for this turnaround time? Means CT minus AT. What is mean by CT? Completion time. AT means arrival time. So we are going to calculate CT minus AT for process P1, P2, P3, P4 and then for P5, because we are going to calculate the average. So what is the CT for process P1? 7. What is the arrival time for the process P1? 0. Okay, it is being given in the problem. So 0. 7 minus 0. That is 7. Then what is the process P2? P2 CT is 11. And what is the arrival time for P2? That is 2. 11 minus 2, that is 9. Plus because we are going to calculate the average, so we are going to add the summation. Okay, next CT for the process P3 is 12, arrival time is 4, then we are going to subtract, that is 8. Next for process P4 it is 16, arrival time is 5, so we are going to have 11 plus 17. Likewise we are going to have, okay, divided by, we totally will be having 5 process, we are going to calculate the average, so divided by 5. Okay, what is the thing we will be having? 10.4 millisecond. This is the value which we got for this turnaround time. Next, you are going to calculate the average waiting time for this process. What is the average waiting time formula? TAT minus BT. This is the average waiting time formula. In this, what is mean by TAT? We already found out the TAT for process P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. Okay, P1 7, P2 9, P3 8, P4 11, and then P5 17. So TAT minus BT for each and every process have to be calculated. TAT for process P1 is 7 minus bus time. What is the bus time? 7. That is 0. Plus what is the TAT for P2? 9. Bus time is 4. So it is 5. Next TAT is 8 for process P3 and bus time is 1. So it is 7. Plus TAT for process P4 is 11 and bus time is 4. So we will be having 11. We will be having 7. Sorry, we will be having 7. Next we will be having 13. So TAT is 20. What is the TAT for this process P5? That is 17 and then minus bus time, that is 4. So we get 13 divided by 5 equal to 6.4 millisecond. Okay. This is the FCFS. So we have calculated CT, that is completion time, turnaround time, and then waiting time. Okay, next comes the SJF, that is shortest job first. Okay, in this shortest job, as I already told, it comes under both pre-emittive and non-pre-emittive. First you are going to calculate SJF pre-emittive. SJF non-pre-emittive. First you are going to calculate SJF non-pre-emittive. Next you move on to pre-emittive. Okay, in this case SJF non-pre-emittive. We are going to draw the Gantt chart. We are going to draw the Gantt chart. First it is 0 and the process P1 arrives. At the initial stage the process P1 arrives. It is a non-pre-emittive, so the process continues its execution up to 7. Okay, next we are going to calculate which process is to be entering into the processor. So we are going to check what is SJF. The shortest job first is going to be executed first. In the case of FCFS, the first come first serve process is to be executed. And in the case of SJF, the shortest job is going to be executed first. What is the shortest job? This is the bus time, so we are going to compare the shortest job by this. So P3 is the first shortest job. Next we will be having 4 for 3 processes, that is P2, P4 and P5 will be having 4 as the process bus time. So we will be having a tie at this time. Okay, in order to break the tie, we are going to execute the FCFS. So which process came first? P2. So P2 is the next shortest and P4 is the next shortest and P5 is the next shortest. Last one is the P1. But in the case of arrival time has been given 0 at the initial stage 0, P1 automatically enters into the CPU. If the arrival time doesn't been given means first the process P3 enters and next the process P2 enters, next P4 and then next P5, after that P1 enters. Suppose the arrival time has been given means at the initial stage the process P1 has been entering into the CPU because the arrival time has been scheduled, that is 0. Okay, so P1 has been entered, it executes up to 7 milliseconds. Next, what is the shortest job? P3 has been arrived. What is the execution? That is bus time of the process P1. P3, that is 1. So we are going to add 7 plus 1, that is 8. Next shortest is P2. Next in P2's bus time is 4. We are going to add 8 plus 4, that is 12. Next one is shortest is P4. Next shortest P4, its execution time, that is bus time is 4. 12 plus 4, 16. Next one is P5. Its execution time is 4. you are going to add 16 plus 4, that is 20. Okay, this is the Gantt chart for this non-preemptive scheduling of SJF. Next, you are going to calculate the CT, that is completion time of the process. Okay, next you are going to calculate the completion time for the process. P1 completion time is 7 and P2 completion time is 12 and P3 completion time is 8 and then P4 completion time is 16 and P5 completion time is 20. Okay. Next you are going to calculate the average turnaround time and then average waiting time. Okay, in this we are going to calculate the average turnaround time, that is TAT, we are going to calculate. Okay, what is the formula for this? CT minus AT. That is the formula for this average turnaround time. So we are going to subtract this CT minus AT. We will be getting 7 for first process and 10 for the next process and 4 for the next process and 11 plus 17 divided by 5 equal to 9.8 millisecond. Okay, next we are going to calculate the average waiting time. What is the formula for this? TAT minus BT, turnaround time minus bus time. Okay, turnaround time already been calculated, P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5 minus the execution time, that is BT for process P1, P2, P3, P4 and then for P5. 7 minus 7, that is 0 and then 10 minus 4, that is 6 and then 4 minus 1, that is 3 and then 11 minus 4, that is 7 and then 17 minus 4, that is 13 divided by 5, because we will be having 5 process, so we will be getting 7.8 milliseconds. So the non-preemptive scheduling gets over. Next you are going to move on to SJF preemptive type of scheduling. In this, first you are going to draw the Gantt chart for this. Gantt chart, first at the initial stage 0, first arrival time is given, so automatically the process P1 enters. It is a preemptive scheduling. Preemptive scheduling means the process break its execution. It doesn't execute as a whole. Okay, first the process P1 enters. Okay, in this first arrival time 0, the process P1 enters. Next arrival time is 2. At the second, so the process P1 executes for the 2 milliseconds. Then at the arrival time 2, process P2 will be arriving. This is a problem. Process P2 will be arriving. So in this case, the bus time of this process is 4. So it is an SJF. So we are going to preemit the process P1 execution by P2. How? We are going to compare the execution time of process P2 with the current process P1. What is the execution? That is 7. Already it has been completed 2. That is, it will be having a remaining 5. Okay, remaining 5. So compared to 5 and 4, P2 is the shortest. So the process P2 will preemit the execution of the process P1 and enters into the CPU. Okay, process P2 will be entering. And it executes for only 1 millisecond. That is at the arrival time 3. The process P5 will be entering. At that time, we are going to check the SJF, that is the shortest job, compared to P2 and then P5. The job for process P2 is 4. Already it completed 1, that is already it has been completed 1 millisecond, so its remaining is 3. For this process P5 it will be having 4. So compared to P2 and P5, P2 is the shortest, so it continues the execution of this process P5. So it continues at the third. Okay, next, so it will be executing 2. Okay, so 4. Okay, next at the arrival time 4. Process P3 enters. The execution time of this process is 1. Already P2 is in the processor. P2 is in the process. So we are going to check or going to compare P2 with P3. P2 execution remaining time is 2 because it executed 2. So its remaining is 2 milliseconds has been there compared with 1. When compared to P2 and P3, P3 will be having the shortest job. So already, so it is going to pre-emit the P2s and P3 is going to enter. And it executes for only 1 millisecond because its execution time is only 1. So it executes for only 1 millisecond. At the arrival time 5, process P4 enters. Okay, so we are going to check at that time process P3 completes. The processor is free, so automatically P4 will be entering and it going to the execution. Okay, so it is a last arrival time. So the process P5, it is a last arrival time. So it going to complete the execution because no process has been arrived. Because all the process has been arrived and it enters into the waiting time. So the process P4 complete whole execution, that is 4. That is 5 plus 4, 9. What is the remaining process that has been waiting? P2, P5 and then P2, P5 and then P1. It will be having the remaining jobs to enter, remaining time to enter. So compared to P2, P5 and then P1, P2 is the shortest job. So P2 is going for the execution. It will be having remaining 2 execution time pending. Okay, it executes for 11 and then next the process P5 entering. It will be having next 3 is to be entered. Next we will be having this 15. Because the process P5 wouldn't been entered before, so it have the complete execution been pending. So 11 plus 4, that is 15. Next pending is P1. So P1 pending is 20. Okay, 5. P1 pending is 5 because it has already been executed 2. So remaining 5 has been there. So it has been executed there. So 20. Okay. Here we are going to calculate the CT. Okay, we are going to calculate the CT. Okay, next you are going to calculate the CT, that is the completion time of the process P1. Completion time of process P1 is 20. It is not 2 because the P1 has been completed its whole execution in its 20th millisecond. So P1 is 20, P2 is 11 and then P3 is 5, P4 9 and then P5 is 15. Okay, P5 is 15. Next you are going to calculate the average TAT, that is turnaround time. Formula is CT minus AT. So CT is P1 20, AT, that is arrival time 0, 20 plus CT is 11 minus arrival time, that is 9. And then for P3, CT is 5 minus arrival time 1 plus and then CT, that is P4 arrival time CT, that is CT minus 80, 4 plus 12 divided by 5. Okay, next we are going to calculate the average, that is 9.2 millisecond. Okay, next one is average waiting time equal to TAT minus BT. What is TAT? 20 minus BT, that is process P1 BT is 7. 20 minus 7. 20 minus 7. Here I would like to tell 20 minus 7 and then we are going to we are going to subtract with this arrival time also for this waiting time, which I already been told. In the case of your FCFS, I already told about the waiting time TAT minus BT. In this TAT minus BT, TAT of this process is 7. TAT of this process is 7. 7 minus that is BT. In this average waiting time TAT minus BT, we are going to calculate this TAT minus BT. Same as that we are going to calculate for this SJF pre-emittive also. In this, what is the waiting time? Waiting time is TAT minus BT. That is first TAT for this is 20. 20 minus BT, that is the first process is BT is 7, so we'll be getting 13. Same like that we are going to calculate for all the process 5. For the process P3 TAT is 1 and bus time is 1, so it is 0, and next one is TAT is 4 and then bus time is also 4 for process P4, so it is 0. Next one is P5 is 8 divided by 5. Okay, so we'll be getting 5.2 milliseconds. So average turnaround time is 9.2, average waiting time is 5.2 milliseconds. Next you are going to calculate the priority scheduling. In the case of priority, as I already told, priority scheduling we will be having both pre-emittive and then non-pre-emittive. First you are going to calculate the pre-emittive type of scheduling. In the case of pre-emittive scheduling, I would like to draw the Gantt chart. In this, first the processor 0 has been there. Process P1 has been arrived, because at the arrival time 0, the process P1 will be entering into the CPU and it executes for 2 milliseconds. Okay. Next, at the arrival time 2, process P2 arrives. In the case of priority scheduling, we are going to calculate the priority. We are going to execute the process based upon the priority. This is the question we have. In this, for process P1 we will be having the priority 5, and for process P2 we will be having the priority 2, process P3 1, P4 4, P5 3. What is the priority? The lowest in number will be having the higher priority, same as that of your rank. Okay, so P3 will be having the highest priority first, and P2 next highest, and P5 is the next highest, and then P4 is the next highest, and P1 is the least priority, that is 5. So based upon the priority, the process will enter to the CPU to execution, but the arrival time is given, so the process P1 enters into the CPU. Okay, process P1 enters and it's going to execute for the 2 milliseconds. Arrival time 2, so it's going to execute for 2 milliseconds. At that second millisecond, the process P2 arrives. So we are going to pre-emit the process P1 based upon the priority. We are going to check the priority of process P1 with P2. So the process P2 will be having the higher priority compared to process P1. So the process P2 will be pre-emitting the process P1. So it pre-emits the process P1 and it enters to the processor. So P2 will be entering and it executes for another 1 millisecond, because at the arrival time 3, process P5 enters, so it executes for 1 millisecond. So at the arrival time 3, the process P5 enters. So we are going to check the priority for P5 is 3. Automatically what is being there in the processor P2. So we are going to compare P2 with P5. Okay, what is the priority of P5? 3. Priority of P2 is 2. So compared to P2 and P5, P2 will be having the higher priority. So P2 continues its execution up to 4th milliseconds. But if the 4th millisecond process P3 arrives, it is having the priority 1, that is the highest priority. But process P2 will be having the priority 2. So process P3 will be pre-emitting the process P2. So process P3 enters into the processor and it executes for 1 millisecond, because the execution time of process P3 is 1. So it is going to execute for only 1 millisecond. After that, the process P4, in this time the processor is let free. Okay, so at this arrival time 5, process P4 has been arrived, so it is not going to check the priority of the process P3, because the process P3 completed its execution, because the execution time of this process P3 and the processor is free. So process P4 will be entering. No process are being there, all the process are being arrived, and some process enters into the waiting state. So the processor is free, so the processor P4 enters and completes its execution, that is 4. Okay, 5 plus 4 is 9. Okay, what are the pending process we will be having? P2 will be having the pending process. P2 will be pending, and then P5 is pending, and then P1 is pending to execute. So based upon this, we are going to check the priority. P1 5, and then P2 is 2, and then P5 is 3, and then P1 is 5. Okay, so we are going to check the priority of P2, P5 and then P1. So based on this, P2 is having the highest priority. So P2 will be entering. It is going to complete all its execution. Up to this stage, then pre-emptive scheduling is going to have. At this stage, all the process are being enter the processor and it goes to the waiting state. So in this waiting state execution, we are not going to compare with this preemptive. So it goes for a non-preemptive. So P2, the remaining time period has all been executed. That is 11. Okay. Remaining pending is 2. Pending is 2. 2 is already been executed. The pending is 2. So it has been executed. Next P5 executes its pending operation. That is 4. P5 is not being entered, so 4 is the remaining, so up to 15. Next one is P1. It is going to execute its pending, that is 5, that is 20. Okay. Okay. What is the cross-checking of your Gantt chart means? When you draw the Gantt chart, whether it may be an preemptive, non-preemptive, or it is a FCFS or an priority or an SJF round robin, the number, that is starting and ending of this Gantt chart number shouldn't change for the same problem. For the same problem, we are applying various algorithms. So the Gantt chart for each and every algorithm should not change for a set of problem. Okay, we will be having the set of from 0 to 20. Okay, but the fashion, order of arrangement is changing, but the Gantt chart starting number and ending number must be same, but the arrangement fashion is to be modified. Okay, this is in the case of your preemptive scheduling. Okay, next you are going to calculate the CT, that is completion time. P1 is 20, P1 is 20, and then P2 is 11, and then P3 is 5, and then P4 is 9, and then P5 is 15. We will be having two slots, P1 and P1. So what is the last completion of this P1? That is 20. We are going to take this 20, not 2. Okay, this is the CT. Next you are going to apply with that formula. Okay, average turnaround time, that is STAT, equal to CT minus AT. That is 20 for first one, next one is 9, next one is 1, next one is 4, and next process 12 divided by 5, we will be getting 9.2 millisecond. Next one is average waiting time. What is the formula? That is TAT minus BT. For this process, first one is 13, and next one is 5, and next process 0 plus 8 divided by 5 equal to 5.2 milliseconds. Okay. Next you are going to calculate the priority non-preemptive. First you are going to draw the Gantt chart. First one is 0. First the process P1 has been arrived because arrival time is given. So process P1 enters. It is a non-preemptive. So we are not going to break the process execution. In the case of preemptive, we are going to break the process execution. Okay, process P1 has been broken here, and this will be having been broken in this part, and P2 has been broken 1, 2, and then 3, and P3 is executed as a whole, and P4 and P5 are executed as a whole. But in the case of non-preemptive, we are not going to break the execution of the process. That is the speciality of this. Okay, for this process P1 enters and the arrival time is 0. It will be having the bus time 7. So it going to continue its execution for 7. At that 7th millisecond, all your process P2, P3, P4, P5 all been arrived and enters into the waiting stage. Okay, next you are going to check the priority. Based upon the priority, we are going to allocate the job to this process. Okay, P1 arrives and it completes its execution for the 7th millisecond. At the time, all the process arrived and enters into the waiting state. Next, we are going to check with the priority. Priority means what is the first priority? That is P3. So P3 goes for the execution in the processor. P3 execution time is 1, so it is 8. Next P2, next priority is P2, execution time is 4, that is 12. Next P5 is the next highest, execution time is 4, so it is 16. And then P4, execution time is 4. 16 plus 4, that is 20. So 0 to 20 we have, the arrangement fashion is only modified. Next you are going to calculate the CT for this process. Okay, next you are going to calculate the CT. CT for P1, that is 7, and then P2 12, P2 is 12, P3 8, P3 8, P4 20, P5 16. Okay, next you are going to apply with this formula, average TAT equal to CT minus AT. For the first process, CT completion time 7, AT 0, so 7. For the next process, P2 12, arrival time is 2, so that is 10. For the next process, 4, 15 next process, and then 13 divided by 5 equal to 9.8 millisecond. Next you are going to calculate the average waiting time. What is the formula? TAT minus BT. Next you are going to apply this. TAT for P1 is 7, TAT for P2 is 10, TAT P3 4, TAT P4 15, and TAT P5 is 13. We are going to subtract with this BT, that is burst time. So I will be getting 0 plus 6 plus 3 plus 11 plus 9 divided by 5 equal to 5.8 milliseconds. Okay, we have completed FCFS, SJF pre-emittive and non-pre-emittive, and then priority pre-emittive and then non-pre-emittive. Next you are going to compute with this RR, that is round robin, that is RR type of scheduling. Okay, as I already told, round robin comes under only pre-emittive. It doesn't comes under non-pre-emittive. Okay, we are going to draw the Gantt chart for this. Okay, this is the problem which we have. Okay, in this problem we will be having the quantum time equal to 2 millisecond. QT means quantum time equal to 2 millisecond. In this, we will be drawing the Gantt chart. For this, first, at the initial time 0, process P1 enters, it doesn't concentrate on the arrival time, and then it doesn't concentrate on the priority, it concentrates only on the time slot to execute its burst time. So first the process P1 arrived, it executes for only 2 millisecond. Okay, because the quantum time is 2 millisecond, it executes for only 2 millisecond and the remaining is 5. Okay, next P2 enters and it executes for another 2 millisecond, that is 4, and then P3 enters, it executes for only 1 millisecond because the execution time of this process is only 1, so it executes 5. Next P4 enters, it executes for another 2 milliseconds, that is 7. Next P5 enters, it executes for 2 milliseconds, that is 9. Next after that, okay, one cycle of completion is over, one cycle of execution is over. Next you are going to compute with the remaining. We will be having 5 here, we will be having 2 here, we will be having 0 here, we will be having 2, and then we will be having 2 here. So we are going to execute the pending execution time of this process. Next, for this process P1 is going to execute for another 2 milliseconds, that is 11. Next process P2 enters and it executes for another 2 milliseconds, that is 13. Next process P4 enters, P3 already completed, so it doesn't enter, 15. Next again process P5 enters, next it's going to complete this remaining, that is 17. Next again, after the second execution, all the process completed its execution, the process P1 will be having the remaining, that is 3 as the remaining. So we are going to execute as a whole. Okay, or we are going to execute P5 19. Next it is going to execute P5, that is 20. So this is the Gantt chart for this round robin. Only we are going to concentrate on the quantum time, that is 2 milliseconds. We are going to cut the execution of the process based upon the 2 to 2 milliseconds. Okay. Next we are going to calculate the CT for process P1. What is the CT for process P1? Here, that is here. What is the CT for this process P1? P5 is 17. Here it is process P1. It is process P1. So process P5 complete its execution. Process P5 complete its execution here in 17th millisecond, that is 15 and then 17. Process P1 will be having the remaining 3. Okay, so it is going to execute 2 here, that is 19, and then it is going to execute 120 in order to complete its execution. So process P1, what is the completion time of the process P1 is 20. And P2, what is the completion of this process P2? 13. P3 is 5. P3 5. P4 is 15. P5 is 17. This is P1. Okay. Next you are going to calculate the average TAT, that is turnaround time, that is CT minus AT. For the first process it is 20, for the next process it is 11, for the third process is 1, and for fourth process is 10, and then for fifth process is 14 divided by 5, that is 11.2 millisecond. Next you are going to calculate the average waiting time, that is TAT minus BT. First process is 13 plus second 7, third one is 0, fourth one is 6, and fifth one is 10 divided by 5 equal to 7.2 milliseconds. So we have calculated all the 4. So based on these four algorithms, the shortest job first will be having the least average waiting time and then turnaround time. Yeah, this is the cross check compared to these all algorithms. Okay, thank you.